Thank you. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. That is, of course, is our amazing Tami Briggs. And Tami is actually going to be putting forth an amazing, informative, and transformative time together for the CSW 69 event brought to you by Pathways to Peace. And so welcome. We're so honored and delighted that you're with us. And this is Peace Through Music, as you see, the healing frequency of the harp. So I am Tezkiah Gabriel. I'm the executive director of Pathways to Peace. And Pathways to Peace has been providing leadership for over 40 years through innovation, collaboration, and movement building. So we are a UN designated peace messenger organization in consultation with ECOSOC and the Department of Global Communications. And our commitment is to expand unitive consciousness and bring that onto the ground for unitive action with programs and initiatives at the UN and beyond. We know that peace begins within, and we can know and feel that regardless of what's happening in our external world, that we can nurture and maintain that inner peace. Probably never before has it been more important to be able to nurture and protect that inner peace, particularly in times like these. So our role as peace builders is to turn metacrisis into metamorphosis. And that's what we're about. To be able, again, to kind of protect and fortify our inner peace, we need tools. And we know that music is a primary tool that helps us hold that inner peace. So before we begin with Tami, I want to introduce to you, if you haven't yet experienced it, our peace wave. And today, we are going to, as we do in every one of our Pathways to Peace events, we're going to begin with that peace wave, that minute of silence, that moment of peace that allows us to open our hearts and minds to hold a vision for peace. And so the peace wave was established in 1983 by Pathways to Peace. And our beautiful, beloved founder, Avon Madison, who has passed, but certainly is with us in spirit, created the peace wave as a way to have Peace Day every day. And so around our world at 12 noon in every time zone, thousands of people pause at 12 noon for that minute of silence, that moment of peace. And so we're going to pretend it's 12 noon, and it could be 12 noon somewhere around our world, as we take that moment to center ourselves, to open up our hearts and minds, to hold that vision of peace. And I am going to bring you into that minute with the bell, and then I'll bring you out of that with the bell as well. Okay, let's just settle into our seats, allowing ourselves to just rest. Rest in that divine and holy moment where peace prevails within and peace prevails on earth. And so it is. So it's time for me to turn the floor over to Tami for this extraordinary experience we're going to have together. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit more about Tami Briggs. Tami is very special to the Pathways to Peace team. She's been working with us now for several years as we came together with her vision for using her harp to expand global peace. So we call Tami our in-house harpist, but she is so much more than that. So I'm going to share with you her bio. So Tami Briggs is a therapeutic harpist and peace activist. After receiving her International Harp Therapy Program certification, she founded Musical Reflections, located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and played the harp at the hospital and hospice beds for 25 years. She has produced 15 CDs for relaxation and has written 2 books. Her newest creations are Founding Healing of Harmonic Light, a unique healing modality using powerful words, the harp's harmonics, and working with light bodies, and Healing Harps for Global Peace and Unity. Harpists around the world who play with love for unity, peace, and planetary healing. Tami uses the harp's vibrations to help you raise your vibration and connect with your own inner peace so that you can radiate it out, bringing peace and calm to the world. Prior to Musical Reflections, Tami co-founded a cross-cultural training company. Tami developed training materials for 35 countries and helped business people on 5 continents increase their international business success by developing cross-cultural skills. She has lived and worked in Switzerland and taught American culture in Kyoto, Japan. She graduated from the University of Missouri, Columbia with her MBA and currently resides in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. So please join me in welcoming Tami Briggs as she presents Peace Through Music, the Healing Frequency of the Harp, for the 69th United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Thank you so much, Tami. The floor is yours.
And thank you, Taz. You know, as you were introducing me, it just occurs to me that the love affair with Pathways to Peace is very mutual. So it's always an honor to share through Pathways to Peace and this United Nations Commission on Status of Women. I just think this is such a wonderful 2 weeks every year. And I always feel like when we go through this, it's like we can be kids in a candy store and pick out all these different sessions and presentations. It's an amazing resource for all women literally around the world. So to bring us in community together this morning, what I would like to do is play two songs. The first song is called Healers of the Heart, and the second song is Ode to Joy. And while I play these two songs, I would invite you to sit comfortably and let the music touch you wherever you need to be touched this morning. Healers of the Heart and Ode to Joy. I'm Tami Briggs, and I've been playing the harp for 35 years. And before COVID, in March of 2020, I was playing the harp at the hospital and hospice bedside. And then when COVID came along, we were no longer invited into the hospital setting. And so it was really a time for me to discern what was next. And through networking, Erika Schneekloff, I think she's on here today. Erika introduced me to Pathways to Peace. And as I said in my very first remarks, it was really a love affair from the very beginning. And Pathways to Peace asked me to play 4 years ago at this Commission on Status of Women. And you all, I thought I had arrived. I was so excited to get to play for the United Nations. And now they've given me this opportunity to be with you all today. And what a joy and an honor and a privilege to do that. And since that time working with Pathways to Peace, I've also had the opportunity to play for a lot of other organizations in the peace movement. There's not a shortage of possibilities of playing to help use the instrument as a way to provide peace and comfort. And Becky, if we could go to the second PowerPoint slide. What I want to do in this second PowerPoint slide is show you the roadmap of what we're going to be doing today, which is really helping you get to inner peace. And this is a model that came to me in the middle of the night. And are you all seeing? Oh, here we go. Let's go to the next slide. This model came to me in the middle of the night with a heart in the center, and in our hearts we have inner peace, or at least that's the objective. And then all of the elements around the heart are really how music can help bring us into that inner peace. And so our goal with this session today is to really bring us to that inner peace, and then we radiate that out to everyone that we touch, whether it's our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, and then obviously people that we don't know, but it's that radiation out to humanity to help bring the world to peace. And Becky, let's go on to the next slide. We won't have a chance to go through all of those elements today, but we'll go through as many of them as we can. And the first one is about comfort. And what I would suggest is if our hearts are comforted and if we feel really safe, that's really helpful to bring us to inner peace. And I want to play a song here that you may or may not recognize. And while I play this song, I'll invite you again to just let the music touch you wherever you need to be touched. And then I'll share a story about this song after we finish it. And the song is Suogan, which is a Welsh lullaby. And the story that I want to share here happened in 2003, so quite a while ago. I was involved in a research study where we were looking at the benefits of live harp music with oncology patients, and specifically if it would help their anxiety. And this was at United Hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota. And half of the group got 30 minutes of music, and the other half of the sample got quiet time, not the music. And those that got the music, the 30 minutes of music, I was supposed to play the same repertoire for each patient because they didn't want that to be a variable in the study. And that song I just played, Suogan, was kind of in the middle of the order. And I was playing for a woman who had ovarian cancer and played Suogan, and she stopped me and she said, "What is the name of that song?" And I said, "Well, it's called Suogan. It's a Welsh lullaby." And she said, "Oh, yeah, my grandmother immigrated here from Wales, and she used to sing that song to me when I was a little child, and I haven't heard it in years. Would you please play that song again for me?" So I played the song again, and needless to say, we tossed her out of the research study because I wasn't supposed to talk to patients, much less play songs twice, right? And the next day, I got called back to the floor to play for a different patient. And the nurse that was taking care of, we'll call her Susan, the day before, pulled me aside and she said, "What was the name of that song that you played yesterday for Susan?" And I said, "Oh, it's called Suogan. It's a Welsh lullaby." And she said, "After you left yesterday, Susan rang for me, the nurse, to come into her room. And she said, when that harpist played that lullaby for me, I know that was my grandmother who appeared as my angel of healing, and I know I'm going to be just fine." And I love that story because I think it really is an example of comfort and how music can give us such comfort. And when we're in that comfort, that helps move us into inner love and inner peace. And that song, I know we have several harpists on here today joining this um, Zoom, and that song, Suogan, is in our beginning harp book. Like every harpist in the world probably plays Suogan. And I've played it thousands of times, literally over the 35 years. And I've never had anybody respond to it like that. And my point is that music as comfort is a very individual, very personal thing. So I would invite you to think about what music gives you comfort and what music can you use to soothe your soul. And the second example that I want to share is a Ukrainian lullaby. And I think the Ukrainian Soviet situation is on lots of our hearts these days. And so I just decided that a Ukrainian lullaby might give all of us comfort as we radiate that love and peace to that troubled area and other troubled areas, as well as for the children, especially since this is a lullaby. And this is a lullaby titled "The Dream Passes by the Window." And I don't sing, otherwise I would sing the words. So I'm going to read the words and then I'll play a verse of it. The dream passes by the window and sleep by the fence. The dream asks sleep, "Where shall we spend the night?" Where the cottage is warm, where the baby is tiny. There we will go and rock the child to sleep. There we will sleep and rock the child. Sleep, sleep, my dear. Sleep, sleep, my little dove. And the last musical piece that I want to share for comfort is Pachelbel's Canon. And Pachelbel's is very comforting because it's 8 notes over and over, and it's that repetition of the notes that helps make it so comforting. So hopefully that gave you deep comfort. And I have a funny story about Pachelbel's Canon and comfort. So early on in my harp days, when I was doing a lot of different events and weddings and gigs, as we call them in the music business, I would do weddings. I don't do weddings anymore, but I would do weddings, and a lot of times the brides would ask for Pachelbel's Canon. And one day I was playing and playing and playing because the bride was really late coming down the aisle, as so many of them were when I was doing weddings. And it occurred to me, all these brides are asking for Pachelbel's because they need to be comforted. It's so stressful, I think, going down that aisle, and they all were like, we want Pachelbel's because, and indirectly or unconsciously, maybe is a better word to say it, they didn't realize that they were, wanting comfort. And so that's Pachelbel's. I want to go on to the fourth slide, Becky, if you would put that up, please. And what I want to talk about next is relaxation. And relaxation is really what the harp is all about, isn't it? And I do believe that when we are relaxed and we move into that more relaxed place, we're more likely to feel inner peace. And let's go on to the next slide, please. The musical principle that I want to talk about here is something that is a technique and actually a principle that I use to help people with relaxation. And it's called entrainment. And entrainment, by definition, is where our bodies synchronize or pulse with different rhythms. And an example of this would be if on a hot summer day you pull up to a stoplight and you've got your windows rolled down and you have to sit there for a couple minutes. If some teens pull up right beside you and maybe they've got heavy metal music on and it's got a big beat and it's not exactly your favorite music, if you sit there long enough, your heart will pulse to the beat of their music. That's entrainment. It's where our bodies synchronize or pulse with different rhythms. And I'll give you a hospital example. And Becky, let's leave this slide up for just a minute, please. Um, the hospital example, I was literally chased down the hall to play for a gentleman that had had brain surgery. And it's my understanding that when they open the skull, which was ear to ear incision, there is a agitation, and it's because there's so much air that gets into the skull. And this guy was writhing all over the bed. He would have been on the floor had he not been restrained. And the nurse chased me down the hall because she said, "We've tried everything. His wife is in there. We've tried all kinds of meds, and we can't get this guy to settle. So as a last resort, would you please try your harp?" So what I did is I set my harp up just as close to his bed as possible, and I began playing agitated on the harp as much as I could, and I walked him through those center four boxes. And in the beginning, I was using the music as a way to give him something to focus on and literally distract him from that pain burst. And after playing in that agitated place for probably 2 to 3 minutes, I just started slowing the pulse of the music down just ever so slightly, moving him into the second box, which is the ribbon of reflection. That's a much more contemplative space. And again, after 2 or 3 minutes in that stage, just slowing the pulse down even more, moving him into the meditative state. And then in the fourth state, the music was just barely pulsing, barely pulsing. And what do you think? He went from writhing all over the bed to sleep just by slowing the pulse. That's entrainment. And entrainment is a very subtle but very powerful concept. And you can do this with your voice, you can do this with your body language, and you can do it across professions. Teachers of little children especially do this, and they'll begin clapping, and then they start slowing their claps, and guess what happens to their classroom, right? Their classroom, the little children are all up here and they're fluttery and they're just all excited, and then eventually they just come right down into peace and calm just by slowing the claps down. When I worked with a lot of nurses, I would talk to them about using this as they would cross the threshold of the room. And I would tell them, you're at the nurse's station, you're multitasking, you're busy, you're out here, you're doing a million different things. And when you go into a patient's room, when you cross that threshold, lower your voice, slow your voice down, soften your body language. And what'll happen is when you're more at peace, your patients will entrain with your peace. And again, it's subtle, but it's powerful. So I want to give you the experiential feeling of this. And my goal is not to put you to sleep, although I always said when I was at the bedside, if I put people to sleep, I did my best work. Because sleep in the hospital and hospice setting is a lot of times very difficult to come by, right? So what I would invite you to do here is just open your hands and put your palms maybe in your lap or down to your side. I just don't want you to cross your body for this because I want the music to just wash all over you. And you can close your eyes if you wish, and I will bring you back whenever we're finished. And this is demonstrating entrainment. And now as we come back together, could you feel that? Very gentle way to idle down. And I want to mention a CD that I created called Calm as the Night. It's also available as a download. And I created this CD. It incorporates the entrainment principle, and it's 5 10-minute songs. And each song starts slow and keeps getting slower and slower as a way to basically do what we just experienced on the Zoom. And there is a warning sign on the back of the CD: do not drive and operate heavy equipment. I don't want someone driving off the road as they're listening to Calm as the Night. And the other funny story about this CD, so I have produced 15 CDs, and the harp is a really challenging instrument to record because it's so vibratory and it literally just wafts all over the map. And the recording engineer that I have used for all of those CDs knows exactly where to place the microphones to get the best sound. And we were working on one of the songs, and when you play the last note, you freeze because the microphones are so hot, they'll pick up, like the creaking of your clothes or the rocking of the bench and the instrument. It'll pick up all those sounds, and you don't want that on the recording. So we're working on one of the songs. I play the last note, I freeze, and I hear it totally taper off. And his job is to turn off the machine, but he doesn't turn it off and he doesn't turn it off. And I'm thinking, well, that is really weird. Why doesn't he turn off the machine? And when I knew it was safe, I pushed the instrument off my shoulder. He's tucked back around a little cove. And what do you think? Yeah, he's sleeping. He's sleeping on the job, right? Excuse me. And so he hates it when I tell that story, but I've had a lot of fun sharing that with groups because it's just funny that, yeah, he slept while I was working on the sleep CD. The last thing I want to say about entrainment is entrainment works both directions. So if maybe you're doing an activity like mowing the lawn or washing the dishes, cleaning house, doing aerobic exercise, you want to pick music with a big pulse, a big beat. It'll help give you energy. It'll help move you through the activity. And my bias is now, as a culture and a world, we are so on, and we have our computers, we have our cell phones, we have all these devices, and we're so revved up 24/7 now. So we need the idle down, and that's really where the harp comes in. The harp comes in to help bring us to relaxation, which is connected to inner peace. The next principle that we're going to talk about is anchoring. And anchoring, I want to play a song and then, yeah, that's anchoring. It's the third element that we're talking about. I want to play a song now, and while I play this, I would like for you to give yourself a hug. And as you give yourself a hug, I want you to pay attention how you place your hands on your body. And this may pull some of you out of your comfort zone. And I just would like for you to play along with me because there's a reason I'm having you do this. And if you're not comfortable with this, you can certainly go off camera while we play this song. And hold your hug throughout the music, please. And then I'll bring you back together when we're finished. And as we come back together, now you can release your hug if you would like. And if you want to put some words in the chat, how you feel, I would be curious how you feel. And when I was on the speaking circuit before COVID came along, when I would ask live groups this, they would give me words like content, peaceful, calm. See grounded, warm, elated, serene, hopeful, peaceful, calm, etc. Loved, sometimes I would hear people say, I feel loved. And so, what we just did is we anchored you to the feelings and the music and the hug. Another example would be if you go get a massage and you have a wonderful CD playing during the massage, and you leave that massage and you're just mellow, right? Your whole body is just so relaxed. The next day, if you play that same CD of music, you'll actually bring in the feelings that you had in the massage. And it's because you anchored that bodily memory with the music. And this is anchoring. And the reason I had you give yourself a hug and pay attention how you placed your hands is before you go to bed tonight, and I know we have some Europeans on here, so you're probably not long before you're going to be going to bed. But give yourself a hug in the same way that you just did. Take a couple breaths, and you'll bring yourself into the words that you just put in the chat. You'll bring yourself into that inner peace, and I bet you'll have a good night's sleep. Yay! Sometimes sleep is a challenge these days. So, yeah, the hug can be your friend. And the question also is, what are we anchored to? Are we anchored to busyness, frustration, anger, bitterness, or love, peace, harmony, joy? And on any given day, we can be on that whole continuum, right? I mean, and moments within the day. So this is not about judgment, but it's just about awareness of what are you anchored to. And of course, our goal is to be anchored in love and peace as much as possible. I want to share a story that was in Grace Notes, which is a book that I wrote about some of my most meaningful experiences playing at the hospital and hospice bedside up to the point that this book was written. And this is a story about a patient that was an experience that was about anchoring to love. It's the story of Melissa. She was 28 years old, had brain cancer, and endured a long battle with the disease. The cancer had spread so much the doctors could no longer operate. She was married, had a 3-year-old daughter, and a 10-year-old stepdaughter. As the chaplain and I walked onto the surgical intensive care unit, we were met by Melissa's parents. I felt an immediate connection and fondness for them. You know how you just hit it off with some people? Her dad informed us that the medical staff were going to withdraw her from the ventilator later that afternoon. I was touched by his openness, candor, and sincerity. I set up my instrument and began playing softly. Melissa's parents, her mother-in-law, and aunt took turns speaking to her and gently stroking her face. Something beautiful was happening in the room. There was an incredible feeling of love, love coming from every person, spreading into every part of the room. Instinctively, those present knew to support, care, and attend to each other and to Melissa at this most painful yet beautiful time. About 15 minutes later, Melissa's husband came into the love-filled room. He was visibly touched by the beautiful feeling. He buried his face in Melissa's pillow and almost crawled into bed with her as he too said his goodbye. Through my own tears, I continued to play. Melissa looked relaxed, calm, peaceful, and content. She was filled with love and radiated, "All is well with me." Everything, medicine, prayers, speaking and touching, everything that could be done had been done. Music was the final gift. Perhaps touching her where nothing else could and giving her family comfort, seeing her in such peace and love during her last minutes. The music softened the environment and helped create a sacred space where love in its most beautiful earthly form was present. Although goodbyes had been said many times before, the harp was an important part of the family's final closing ritual. Her loved ones know that Melissa left the earth with ethereal music. A couple days later, Melissa's dad asked me to play for her funeral visitation. It was a beautiful but extremely sad occasion. In her short life, Melissa had touched many lives, including mine. I was honored to share the music at her visitation so her many loved ones present could experience the love we felt in room 419 during Melissa's last minutes. And one of the songs that I remember playing for her was the beautiful lullaby All Through the Night. Music is sometimes, I think, a forgotten healing art, and part of my message is to remind us to use music as a way to provide richness, depth, and tenderness in our cars, our offices, our homes. And again, when you go back to your hug, you can anchor in the feeling of self-love and inner peace. Becky, let's go on to the 7th slide, please. And what we're going to do now is give you an experiential feeling of a meditation with music. And this is an opportunity for you to feel even deeper inner peace, hopefully, and radiating it out to the world. And we can come back together as a group without the slide. We just were introducing the topic now. So I want to give you a little bit of history about the peace meditations. So in 2008, I hosted and facilitated my first peace meditation when there was a US presidential election. And about a dozen of my friends said, "Oh, I think we need to have some kind of special peace meditation." So we did, and everybody came into my living room. It was in person, it was live, and it was great fun to be in community, but it was also really powerful. And so then when COVID came along, there was another presidential election in 2020, and the group said, "Well, what are we going to do? We have to have the peace meditation." So that's when we started doing them on Zoom. And so we went from a dozen people to 75 people on Zoom because all the group invited their family and friends and kindred spirits and like minded folks. And so we just had that experience together. And then I just have felt called to continue to do these. And so Tez and I sponsored one on diversity, equity, and inclusion and race relations. We've done them on climate change. We've done them on women's issues, gun violence. And then we do them on the special days of the equinoxes and the solstices. On March 21st of 2023, so it's been almost 2 years ago, I hosted a peace meditation on Zoom, and one of my dear friends, Grace, who's on our call today, Grace tested our vibration, and she does this using O-rings, and if the number of our vibration is accurate, it holds, and if it isn't accurate, it breaks. And let's go to the eighth slide, Becky. Grace is doing this based on David Hawkins's research continuum that is in his book called Power versus Force. And you can see on this chart, the bottom numbers are shame and guilt and apathy. You know, they're low vibrations, and not judging those, but they're just not as high as enlightenment, peace, joy, etc. And it's my understanding that humanity as a collective now is about 204. And 204 is just a tiny bit above courage. And then when you look at this chart even deeper, love is at 500, peace is at 600. So if humanity is at 204 and love is at 500, we have a long ways to go, right? We need to help humanity raise our vibration. So back in March of 2023, when Grace did the first muscle testing, in the middle of the meditation, Grace tested us, and our group was at 710. And at the end of that meditation, we were at 820. And I was so excited, you guys. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I remember rap tapping a long email to Tezekiah and David Wick, who is the wonderful president of Pathways to Peace. And I just was like, oh my gosh, there's something really magical about this. This is so exciting. And so what's happened over those past 2 years, Grace attends almost every peace meditation that I've ever hosted, and she continues to test our vibration. And the last one we did was on March 3rd, so 9 days ago from today. And I think we need a harp glissando. Instead of a drum roll, I think we need harp glissando. Our group, our group vibrated at 600,000. 600,000. So we are in the angelic realms. We are way expanded, way elevated. And what an honor, seriously, what an honor to be um, facilitating this with, a beautiful community. I think we had 16 on that night. So these groups are small, that we're not talking about hundreds of people, but it's certainly folks that can hold the vibration. And I see several people that are on here today that have attended the peace meditation. So thank you all so much. So what's happening with these? And we are going to do an experiential one here in just a minute. I'll stop talking. But what is happening? I believe it's people that are connected to their hearts and connecting to the hearts in the community. And we're focused on a theme. We're focused on something that we're all intending together. And then it's the gentle but powerful vibrations of the harp that are rippling that out into what's called the morphogenetic field. And we know that we want to feed that morphogenetic field as much as possible. And our intention, I think, is really twofold. It's purity of thought and depth of feeling. Purity of thought and depth of feeling. That's our intention. So we're going to do this together, and let's see, how are we doing on time? I think we have about maybe 20 or 25 minutes to do this together. And so our format will be, we'll meditate in silence, and then I'll play the harp intermittently throughout the meditation. And that will help us stay focused and keep our vibration high. Grace has agreed to do muscle testing today. Thank you very much, Grace. You're such a dear. Aw. And Grace is, her group is the Global Love Wave, and she's doing all this incredible work with Love Beacons and the Global Heart Team, and oh my gosh, love Grace. And look at that map behind. That's all hearts on that map, because for the last year, the Global Heart Team has learned about 294 countries. Is that right? Anyway, it's been a lot of countries. And today, what I want to focus on in our peace meditation, and you may want to write these words down: world peace in a world that works for all beings. And Tez, you can put that in. She just did. Ask and you shall receive, right? It's in the chat. World peace in a world that works for all beings. And that's what we're going to focus on. I never know what I'm going to play in these peace meditations, but I usually get some kind of direction for the first song, and that has indeed happened today. The first song that I'm going to share with you is called My Shepherd Will Supply My Need, but it's in the angelic mode. Isn't that just the coolest? So we're bringing in the angels, we're bringing in all the helper beings that can help us have a beautiful, lovely peace meditation. And if the song title is important, I'll put it in the chat. Otherwise, you can just be in peace, and I'll bring you back together in about 20 minutes or so. So let's have you put your hand on your heart and take your pulse. How are you doing? How does your heart feel right now? And on the next inhalation, breathe in peace. And breathe out love. And on the next inhalation, breathe in a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. More love. Rippling out peace. And on the next inhalation, even deeper love, rippling out peace to those that have gathered on this Zoom and all that are listening via live stream. And now let's all come back together. Bring you back. So, could you feel that? Could you feel how that brought you inner peace and that was what we were rippling out? I think at one point we had like 27 or 28 people, so think of that power as we're manifesting what we were wanting, world peace in a world that works for all beings. And Grace, were you able to take the vibrational numbers? Oh yeah. Wonderful. And can maybe you unmute? I don't know. There you go.
Mhm.
How did we do? And it's
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Um, it was just so we raised so for the numbers we were talking about earlier. When you said the numbers 2 years ago, I was laughing because I've totally forgotten that. We're in such other different realms now. But the interesting thing was, because I measured every 5 minutes, but then at 11, I've been measuring throughout every song just to kind of see what songs resonated, which ones didn't. But at 11:47, I started crying and wanting to breathe, going to breath work. And it was the collective fear coming out of this group. I tested, is it the group fear or it was the group fear? But after that, we tested over 700,000, releasing our group fear. It went to 710,000, which we've never hit. Like me and Tami, I've never tested that at all. But the interesting thing was back when we did the anchoring with the hugs, just anchoring in love, we at the end of that song, we were 700,000 just from that one song. And then with the releasing, and then what happened at 11, and this is Eastern time, 11:50 or 11:54, after releasing, it took 4 minutes to release, the fear. We got downloaded, we are love that energizes world peace and a world that works for all beings. We are, and so when we shifted out of fear, like all the little collective fear left, released, and we were pure love, this is what was energizing this world peace. And we hit 740,000. And we've never touched that. Never have I ever touched that high, ever.
right, right.
I mean, Tammy knows the numbers. But when we shifted from fear into that we are the love that's energizing world peace, that goes with what you were saying, Tammy, that this inner peace we are collectively embodying is actually energizing world peace. That and this is objectively energizing world peace. That when we become that source of love for world peace that energizes world peace. And I knew there's a connection between love and peace, but I got the clarity in this moment that I knew love had something to do with peace, but it's the energetic fuel for world peace.
And what I didn't tell you about Grace is Grace gets these amazing downloads as we're doing this and always is sharing like what a gift you all are and just
Mm.
beautiful community. Oh my gosh, can we just bottle this
I
and
know.
send this out into the world?
And I asked if it was the collective fear of the world. No, it was just our fear. But that was so powerful. If we just were able to get rid of our fear in this field and shift to pure high vibe love, that will energize world peace so much more. Like so pure. It's like pouring pure love into world peace.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I said these are powerful, I wasn't I wasn't
He's not lying.
mistaken, right? And so many of you that are on here today are connected to lots of different things. And this is the power of Pathways to Peace and the work that they're doing, that they give us all these opportunities to build community, to be together. Just absolutely wonderful and beautiful. Thank you, Grace. And I want
Thank
to
you.
go, now we're going to go into a little bit more head stuff to kind of bring you back to planet Earth. Let's go to slide number 9, Becky, please. And so, what do we do for self care when we are in these amazing high vibrational fields? And as Grace just said, 740,000, we've never reached that before, and we did today. And, I think these just keep growing. It's like, oh my gosh, we just keep getting, bigger vibrations. So, things that we need to do in community now to really take care of our hearts, because this is part of what I want to mention here. It's hard to talk after being in the really high vibrational angelic realms, but we don't want you to vibrationally crash. And I've had that experience, and it's not any fun. So, part of why we're talking about this now is to give you some ideas to not vibrationally crash, to really help you hold your vibration up and come down gradually as you go back out into the world. Connect to your breath, make sure you're grounded, center, drink water, journal, phone a friend. Um, Phone a friend is with a caveat, so make sure it's a high vibe friend, that somebody that can, meet you where you're at or bring you down gently. And that's important. Rest, be quiet, relax, relish the inner peace. Oh my gosh, how many times in our life do we get to really experience and relish this wonderful feeling? And gratitude. This is a wonderful time to really think about, what are we so deeply grateful for? And that can be a journaling prompt if you like. Being really aware of our language. What do we want to create? Decreasing our screen time, eating really healthy. A lot of times when we do these in the evening, then people end up, needing to eat afterwards. So it's really important to nurture our bodies with healthy food. Pay attention to your dream. And last but not least, go back to the anchor.
Yes.
Yeah, Grace. Yeah, when you anchor that in, take a couple breaths, and it'll bring back the feelings, the bodily memory, the power, the power of this experience. And let's go on to the next slide, please. Oh, and just one other thing I want to mention about those self-care tips. All of those, that's okay, Becky, you don't have to go back, but all of those can be used now if you ever feel challenged in the chaos and these sometimes crazy times. You can use any of those strategies to really help you anchor to peace. And when you're anchored to peace, both inner peace and radiating that out, that helps all of us. And as I was preparing all of this, I just kept thinking, what would the world be like if every single person was in inner peace? If every single person was in inner peace, think of what the world would be. Like, oh my gosh, it would be such a different experience. And that's what we're here. I believe we're all called to this time and space to create that. So you're invited to these. I think Tez just put my email in the chat. Um, I You can just email me and I'll be glad to send you the Zoom links. And I can also put you on my list of further future notifications if you're interested. The next one will be March 21st, and that will be for the equinox. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll be bringing in fall. And if you're in your northern hemisphere, we'll be bringing in spring. And these are an hour, 1 to 2 Central Time. I live in Minneapolis, so we're in the Central Time zone. And then we normally do one the first Monday of every month, but in April I'll be traveling internationally, so we won't be doing any meditations in April. But the next one that we'll do in the evening, for those of you that live in the US and also Australia and the West Eastern world, will be May 5th. And those are from 7 to 8 Central. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So before we open to question and answers, I want to just talk a little bit about my newest creation that I'm kind of really excited about. It's called Healings of Harmonic Light. And this came about as I've been working with Barry Akatel. Some of you know, I think there's a couple of us that are in that community on this Zoom today. And Barry's a very high vibe guy from Australia. He's marrying a woman in the US, and so he is relocated here now. And he has something called the light body alignment technique. And I have been studying that for the past 14 months. And in studying that, what kept coming to me was add the harp, add the harp. And so literally this has all been downloaded to me over the last 2 or 3 months. So it's powerful words, the harp's harmonics, and the body's light. And as I've gotten deeper into this and the downloads that are coming in, what I've realized is when I was at the hospital and hospice bedside, I was really about the physical body, and I was working with the chakras a lot. And this work it works with the chakras, but it also works with the layers of light or the auric layers that surround each of our bodies. And there's 7 of them, and they extend out about 3 feet or 1 meter if you're on the metric system. And each of these layers of light that encircle the body, if we have fears or sabotages or old beliefs or limiting beliefs, they get stuck in our light body. And when they get stuck in our light body, that's exactly, we're stuck. And so when you clear the light body, it literally opens up the channel and brings in a whole different new story. And I see the light bodies as kind of a track, like it's a track around it encircles the entire body. And the block may be anywhere within a track. And so it's what I'm starting to do. I'm starting to work with clients. I put it on my website, and yeah, I'm excited about it because I think it's got really huge possibilities of helping humanity heal. And I think the more people heal, that's also a big bridge to love and peace. And the harp, when I'm doing this work, the harp is a very different, unique technique. It's just whatever comes to me, and what I would say is it's almost like creating a harmonic or vibrational packet, and then those vibrations literally then are what help clear the light body. So it's a really synergistic, powerful technique. And if you want more information, I could talk about this for quite a bit of time, actually. And I won't, because I know we've got other things to do today. But if you want more information, just send me an email and I'd be happy to chat with you about it. So with that, I think we're ready to open up for questions, comments.
Yes. So, Becky, could you put us on gallery view, please? Yay. Hello. Look at all of you. How beautiful. So, who might have questions? And you could put your question in the chat, or you can raise your e-hand if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen. At the menu at the bottom, you should find something that says react or reactions, and you can raise that electronic hand as well. So who has a question for Tami or for Grace?
I think you all are shy.
Well, I have to say that I didn't know if I could speak when I came back after the meditation. I really didn't know. When I opened my mouth, I didn't know if I would be able to speak. So many of us might still be in that place.
It
And if
happens.
you can't find your e-hand, but you do have a question, just raise your hand and hopefully we'll see you and you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Wow, I think this is just a symptom of a really incredible, oh, good. Becky has her hand up. And before, I wanted to say this at the end, but Becky, with your hand up, I have to say it now. This is our beloved sister, Becky Suzik from Joy Fuel. And we adore her. And she has provided tech support for our Zoom today. So Becky, we all bow to you, and including live streaming on a couple hundred Facebook pages of this. So she's amazing. And it's Reverend Becky, so she's so much more than tech support. So tech support with a sacred, loving energy. So Becky, your question.
Thank you so much. This has been extraordinary. So I'm sitting here upon Nusiok Catawba land in North Carolina, in Lewisburg, North Carolina. I shared before we began our program that our cat of 18 years, his name is Midnight. He's at the end of his life. And Tami said, she had worked with animals and that they find that it can affect them very positively. And so he came in and he's been in a lot of pain, and he lay behind me and listened to the music and flicked his little foot and his tail. And it was just really beautiful. And so as I was holding this space, I think he knows I'm talking about him, he's now in front of me. I took a picture of him that I'll share with you, Tami. I don't have a chance to get it on the computer to share it with everyone, but his name is Midnight. And so it was really beautiful to witness this beautiful being having an experience with the music that helped him. And so I'm very grateful and wanted to share that. And if any of your four-leggeds or pets are around you, I know that they were affected by it for positive good as well, for love and for peace. So thank you. Thank you for holding my tears and this beautiful little cat as he's making this journey beyond.
Wonderful, Becky. And thank you so much. It's wonderful. Like now when every time I said, Becky, can you move the PowerPoint? That's who we were talking about. And yeah, many blessings to you as you are in this really tough space. And I know Andrea has a cat or two. Yeah, and two, yeah. And Phyllis, I know Phyllis always has kids. Yep, there she is, right? Yep. And then I don't know if you noticed during the actual peace meditation, and I'm probably not going to say your name correctly, but Dila had a beautiful cat she put right on the screen, and the cat was just so mellow. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. So yeah, animals love the harp. I have a really good friend in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and she always says, "Oh yeah, the cats just love it." So anyway,
Yes, there she is. It's good to see your face.
yeah, there she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah.
So I also wish, given it doesn't seem like there are other questions, thoughts, comments at this point, which I totally understand. I would also love to thank you, Grace, for the incredible work you're doing we bow to you in deep gratitude. It's always wonderful to see Grace in events. It always makes my heart sing. So, Tami, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. I know I had to, kind of stop myself from weeping out loud, but certainly tears. So this was just an incredible, powerful gift that you gave us today.
Thank you.
And so a gift of love, a gift of peace, just the right gift for where we are right now. So just deep, deep bows to you. Darling, we love you so much.
Yeah, thank you. You're
Yeah.
so sweet.
It's so true.
There is a question in the chat as well from Reverend.
Good.
Yes, I see it. For those of us who have no musical talents, how can we use some of these techniques in our work with weary clergy and activists? Any many versions of this experience you can suggest we could facilitate ourselves? This was amazing. Thank you, Reverend. So a couple things, I guess, really music is accessible these days through downloads and CDs. And so I would say that's probably your first go-to, is to, get some music that resonates with you and the environment and the experience that you're trying to create. I don't think I mentioned this, but part of what happens when we're intentional and being really mindful of music is it creates a sacred space. And especially when you're working with weary clergy and activists, people that may have some compassion fatigue, selecting music very mindfully can be a great help for that. And then I would invite you into the peace meditations, because I think, and I know I didn't mention this, but I think part of what happens in the peace meditations is it's not only about feeling inner peace yourself and radiating that out, but I think a lot of people get their wells filled up. They get their buckets filled up, if you will, so that then when they go back out into the world, oh, you have something to give. And so I hope that helps with your question, Marita. And if it, I can say more if if it didn't work for you.
So I just want to say, Marietta, that Tami's CDs are all incredible and downloadable. And so you could contact her if you'd like to learn more about that. And from my experience, adding the harp music to any kind of meditation, even a silent meditation, is just powerfully healing.
Yeah.
And so, yes. Marietta, was that, did you want to say anything more?
She said
Or
thank
ask
you.
anything?
She did say thank you, so maybe that
I
addressed
see
it.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Grace, I wanted to comment on one of the downloads that I've gotten, that I've been repeating, is about how important it is to remember that we are powerful. We are not powerless. We are powerful. And also that we cannot afford to stay in fear. That's dangerous, because the world needs our light. And so we know we have the ability to bring in that light and to raise our own frequency. And it's very important in these times. And you said it so beautifully, Grace, where the world needs peace more than ever before, that we bring that light, that frequency, and we stay in that to the degree that we can. For many of us, we believe there is only two emotions, love and fear. And love is the one that's permanent. And we can shift fear. So very important, that message. Thank you, Grace.
Oh,
And
you're welcome. Yeah, and thank you. You're welcome. And if you want to be a love beacon out in the world, that's what we do for the Global Heart team. Is you may sign up for globallovewave.com to create a love focused humanity.
yes, and Grace, I know you put your information in the chat. If you'd like to do that again, that'd be great. And so we are winding down. We only have a few minutes left. So I'm first going to ask Tami if she has any last words. And then I will close with a group exercise that will anchor us and take us back out into the world for whatever we need to do beyond our time together today. So Tami, any last words?
So would you like for me to close with Somewhere Over the Rainbow and then you take over from that?
How about we have you do Somewhere Over the Rainbow after my closing?
Okay, all right.
All right.
So I don't really have anything else. Just I really want to say thank you so much for each of you attending today. What a gift you all are. And again, a special thank you to Grace and of course, Pathways to Peace. Like, yes, I love the group. So organization. I'm going to turn it back to you, Tez.
Yes. And again, we started with thanking you today for being here and how honored we are to have you. And as Tami said, each one of you has been a gift. And so thank you, thank you. And as evidenced in the 7,400 frequency that we all contributed to. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So at Pathways to Peace, we always say, wherever you're at, whatever is going on in your life, whatever your background is or your position today, please know that you are a pathway to peace. And so, Becky, would you be willing to open up the gallery and allow people to unmute themselves? Please. Are you there, Becky?
Yes. If you switch your view, then you'll be able to see all of us.
Good, good, good. There you all are. And you should be able to open your mic. So please do that. We're going to come together around a little exercise. I promise it'll be easy. So, and we love hearing your voices, even though it's kind of a cacophony, it's still that beautiful frequency and we want to hear it. So this is, I'm going to walk you through it once and then we're going to do it 3 times. So what we're going to say is, it's got the movements. I am a pathway to peace. You are a pathway to peace. We are a pathway to peace. Ready? 3 times. You can open your mic, please. I
am a pathway to peace.
You are a pathway to peace. We are a pathway to peace.
One more time.
I am a pathway to
peace.
You are a pathway to peace.
We
are a pathway to peace.
One more time. With
I am a pathway to peace. You are a pathway
to peace.
We
are a pathway to peace.
And may peace prevail on earth. Tami's going to now play Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and you can leave as you feel called. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here.
Wonderful. Just wonderful to be with you all. So, somewhere over the rainbow, the story that I want to share with you about it, it's quick, but I was in the very first harp therapy certification program called the International Harp Therapy Program back in 1995. And our harp therapy teacher was just seeing if this was viable, and we were kind of an experiment, if you will. And I guess the experiment worked because there's now over 3,000 of us as certified harp therapists, and we're from every continent except Antarctica. And so this is a wonderful, beautiful, supportive community. And in 2008, when the economy crashed, our harp therapy teacher said she would send us these long emails, and it would be all these harpists in our community that were having really big challenges. And she would list them all out, and then she would say, let's sit down to our harp and play Somewhere Over the Rainbow energetically to help these folks in community or energetically. And that went over so well that after a couple of years, she said, well, let's change it up, and let's every Sunday at 5 o'clock in our respective time zone, let's play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So now you can envision 3,000 harpists sitting down at their harps every Sunday at 5 o'clock playing this beautiful song to help anyone that needs healing. So now on Sundays at 5 o'clock, you can imagine a ribbon of rainbow light that's literally encircling the globe. And as I said that, I noticed Andrea's beautiful rainbow behind you. And again, thank you so much for attending today, being present, and I wish you so many blessings of inner peace, and you have that beautiful power to help change the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.